We're at the Fall River Career Center, and we're talking to Joe Viana, who's the director of the center. And we're going to talk a little bit, casually in a sense, about the unemployment rate, the state versus what's happening in the city. But we'd like to preface it by saying that we can only really talk about what's happening within the Career Center and from Joe's perspective in his position. Correct, Joe?
I appreciate that. Yes. Yes, we can talk about the Fall River rate, but the thing that I do feel comfortable speaking about is our experiences here at the Career Center, whether it be with employers, with job seekers, with people filing their unemployment claims. And my comments would be pertaining to that type of activity because that's what I can speak about knowledgeably about. Certainly not an economist, so those folks that do economy work will be able to expound a lot more on reasons why certain unemployment rates exist and maybe do not exist. But certainly any questions that you have, I'd be more than happy to inform the citizenry of Fall River of not only of what the rates are and what's happening, but also what they can do about it, what they can do here at the Career Center, hopefully avail themselves of a lot of our great services here.
All right, with that said, why don't we just take a look at those rates and statistics, and the objective part of that is what exactly?
Well, I mean, I can tell you that for the month of July of this year, the unemployment rate in Fall River was 8.2%. The state average was 4.9%. But when you compare that to last year, which is very, very important, last year was 10.1. So it's really a decrease this year, as well as the state. The state was 6.0. But it isn't just 1 year. This has been a trend that's been occurring over the last 3 years. And I think the signs of the recession have really started to hit home more so than in other areas as well. So it's been very good to see the rates drop. And we can tell by the activities in our career centers. And I can talk specifically about one thing that's a measure, I think, of the economy locally is the number of job orders that are posted with us, the number of job orders that our job developers take. We solicit from businesses. We post on our websites. We post in our resource rooms. We have our staff interact with the people that are looking for work to fill those job orders. So I can tell you, and I ran some reports beforehand, that the last 3 months we've seen quite an increase in job postings in May, June, and July. But I want to tell you the thing that I've noticed compared to last year. I mean, when I look at May's figures, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 industries that each have over 100 postings of job orders. Office and administrative occupations, we have production occupations, we have transportation and material handling, sales and related occupations, and food preparation. These are all postings that are over 100 jobs. So that's very good because there's a large number of activity across those industries. Last year, there were maybe 2 or 3 that had over 100 jobs. And because I have the comparison to last year's reports, which I did over a year ago, and actually not even one had over 100 jobs. So the economy is getting better. The unemployment rate is dropping. We see a lot more employers here interviewing at the Career Center, actually meeting face-to-face with people. And I have to say, I think the Career Center is not just this one. The entire Career Center system in the state of Massachusetts, and there are 33 Career Centers, is the only place in the state of Massachusetts where you can actually meet an employer face-to-face, where you don't have to worry about just filling out a form, going online, going through the online application process, making a phone call, sending a fax, or doing whatever it normally takes to get an interview. By and large, you'll find recruitments at career centers, and ours is no exception. Actually, we are really very, very lucky to be working with some very important employers in our region. Stop and Shop being recruiting here on a regular basis, 2 to 3 days a week. We have other companies. We have Penn National, which we recently worked with to fill the gaming needs in that industry. We hope to work with Amazon when Amazon is here. Hopefully when that's all set, you know, we'll be involved in that aspect of it. And the other part of it that's important besides filling those job orders, and specifically for the job seekers, is to prepare yourself for everything you can do to get that job. And we have the resume writing, the interviewing, we have the job club, we have the computer lab, which is, these are all free of charge. That these are all things that people can avail themselves of. They have to be motivated. to do this. We want to make sure that you feel comfortable using all of our services here. And from my perspective, it is really informative to the community, this opportunity. And I really do want to thank you for this opportunity to make sure that people are aware of this. So it's a complex issue. It isn't resolved easily. We'll solve it one job at a time, one employment at a time, but more importantly is making sure that we make those ties. And the place to do it is here at the Career Center.
Very good. Thank you, Joe Viana, who is the director of the Career Center here on North Main Street. And just as a added bonus for those looking for work, you do not have to be collecting unemployment benefits in order to use the resources here at the center, which is really very important because people think, I'm not getting unemployment, so therefore I can't avail myself of the services. That is not true. Correct, Joe?
Very, very true. And I have to say, and we have people here in our resource room that come in that are working. Sometimes they're working part-time, they're looking for more work, or they're looking for a different type of job. So even if you are working, you can come in and utilize the services. We have a great program, which is an assessment tool for people's knowledge, skills, and abilities. It's called TORC. And what it does is make sure that you can see all of the different types of jobs that you could apply for. And it actually lists the open jobs. So that goes all the way to the current labor market information. So even an assessment tool for yourself to try to see what you could potentially do, that's fantastic. And I really didn't talk much about skills training because that's another thing that we do. We do based on eligibility, availability of funds, and suitability for training. Those are the three things. We do pay for people's tuition to be trained, skill trained in another area if it's so appropriate. So that's also available for people.
Now, actually, if somebody wanted to partake in that, how would they go about doing that?
They would come into the Career Center and say that they're interested in vocational skills training. They would see an intake person that would look at their eligibility, and the person would try to make them eligible for all the sources of funds. And then set them up with the assessment part of it, which is a vocational counselor. And that process would start. The eligibility thing is what's important. Are they collecting unemployment, which is automatically something that would make them eligible? For another sources of funds, are they receiving any special benefits that would make them eligible under certain income guidelines? And the reason I'm being vague about that is because it has to be specific to a person. So the best way to find out is to come in. Certainly certain companies close, as you remember, Quaker closed, AJ Wright, things of that nature. When those things occur, there are special funds for those people. There's national emergency grants. There's funding for long-term unemployed. There's a lot of different types of funds available, and we work with the person to make them eligible for all of these things.
So what I'm hearing is there's no magic answer. There's resources available, and we're just trying to get the word out that, hey, they are available. Because, again, we talked a little bit when we talked to the Job Club people about attitude, about it's all about attitude. And Marilyn Offer, who runs that program, was saying that they preach that. You cannot get a job unless you have a good attitude. And it's hard when you're not working to have that attitude. So what would you say, Joe, to somebody who's, for lack of a better term, desperate for work?
Well, do everything you can to prepare yourself. You're going to have an opportunity. It's going to come your way. When it does, you got to make sure you are prepared, that you are confident, that you're knowledgeable about what it is that you want to do, and that you make a good first impression, that you're dressed properly, that you have a good resume, that you know what to say, that you can make great eye contact, and you have a firm handshake, that you can impart on the company that you're a good fit for that company, that you're going to be there every single day, you're going to be on time, you're going to be working to make the company or the agency better, and that you recognize, fair wages, fair day's wage for a fair day's work. That old adage still holds true. Companies want to know that you're going to be providing what they need, and they're willing to compensate you for it if you're a very good employee. So you have to somehow present that to companies. And we hear it from them all the time. I want somebody that's going to be there every day, show up, know how to deal with their managers, know how to deal with their coworkers, solve problems, take care of customers, and bring in more revenue to the company, which is then going to be a way to, of course, pay all of the employees and all the benefits and all the things that are important to people.
And it also gives the person in the job more training, more skills, and more ability to advance themselves in their own careers, correct?
Right, correct.
Very good, Joe. Joe Viana, who's the director of the Fall River Career Center. I'm Donna Mata, frcconnect.org.